So my name is Laurie Beachell. I live here in Raleigh, North Carolina. I have been a homeschool mom for about 7, 8 years now, and I've been a consultant for 6 years. Before homeschooling my kids, we were all in a Christian school. I've taught anything from elementary all the way up to high school choirs. And I still do a little bit of subbing here and there in choirs in area schools around me. I have 4 children. Two are in college. They finished their exams today. Yay. Much rejoicing in our house. So it's Chick-fil-A tonight for supper, I guess, in the parking lot. However we have to do this is how we're going to do it to celebrate. And then I have 2 high school students. But what Eugenia was saying was yesterday we had a huge event in our home. Our golden doodle had 7 little puppies. So it started at 4 a.m., not necessarily when I wanted to get up, but you got to go with labor whenever it starts. So we have 7 new members to our family today that we're not getting much done. There's just too much cuteness in that little dog whelp. So we keep having to stop by and cuddle and snuggle some puppies. But I am so glad that I get to be with you all today and share with you some things that I have been learning in this area of critical thinking. I think it is an area that we fail. I know I can't speak for you, but I fail personally many times in this area. And so I believe it is something that all of us, whether we're in the secular realm or whether we're in the homeschool realm, using a biblically based curriculum, many times we hear all around us, oh, critical thinking is what we should be not forcing, but encouraging our kids to do. But I have been very challenged now that my kids are older. How much do I stimulate their critical thinking skills in just everyday moments of life? I use the BJU Press curriculum. We do the distance learning. Would not trade it for the world. I taught the curriculum in Christian school in my younger days when I taught elementary. I love this curriculum for their critical thinking skills and also for the biblical worldview. But what am I doing as a mom in just the everyday moments of life? That has been my challenge. And I've actually done some research in this area to help me as a mom do better in this area. And I want for the next few minutes to share with you some ideas that I've come. They're super practical. Anybody that knows me knows I'm very simple. And so I love to think through things in a very simple way and how I can apply them to each one of my children with their different learning styles. We would all agree critical thinking goes beyond memorization. It goes beyond the recalling of facts. I love to picture it. I'm a very visual person. So especially when I was in the classroom, I loved to teach visually. You'll be able to tell by today, I kind of move a lot and I'm expressive. That's how I communicate. And I love to think that each one of my children has their own toolbox. And as mom, as teacher, I want to help them know the best tools that they individually need for their toolbox. And then in these everyday moments, as we're talking about all sorts of things through the day, as we rub shoulders, and obviously we all know we're rubbing shoulders a whole lot more these days, being quarantined together. How am I helping them? Even the level that I'm at with college and high schoolers at home. How am I helping them know which tool to choose out of their toolbox for that moment? This has been really challenging for me because I'm doing it very differently than when my kids were toddlers and elementary students. We want, I know I do, and I think you would say this too as moms and dads, we want critical thinking to become second nature. This is more than learning. This is life. I'm preparing them for life. I'm preparing them not just for how they learn at school, but how I want them to function as adults, how to function biblically in this world. You know, I found out in my research in preparing for this that there was a certain study done where educators were asked all over the world, what would you say are the skills that students need today to function well as an adult? Guess what they found out in interviewing educators? Number 2 on the list was creativity. Number 1 was problem solving. Critical thinking. Really, I think the problem solving and the critical thinking goes hand in hand, fits very well together. So, what can we do? What are the everyday moments? And you might, while I'm talking, want to make a list just on your own of, okay, here's what happens every day in my house. I'm going to share some things that we have done in our house that, and I don't do it right all the time. I fail probably more than what I get it right. But I want to share with you just some ideas that I have come up with. I've also spent some time interviewing retired teachers, retired college professors, present day teachers, and I've really picked their brains to help me even be a better homeschool mom. And I want to share some of that with you today. And I hope these are so helpful for you. What are some everyday teachable moments? You'll see the first one I have listed in music. We love music in this home. We will go the extra mile with our kids to provide musical training for them, to surround them with good music, honing their musical skills. And, you know, ever since my kids were little, I've always loved the car rides where we put music playing. And sometimes, if you're like me, I can kind of check out. I don't intentionally listen, but I've tried to teach my kids what it means to intentionally listen to music. So we're picking out instruments. I love choral songs, and especially being a choral conductor, my heart kind of goes there. And I love to listen deep into a song, listen to the parts, listen to the styling. So now I've done this so much with my kids that they will start saying back to me, oh, did you hear what the basses did on that part? And it's really fun. It's almost like a treasure hunt that we do with music. If I'm teaching music to elementary students, I just try to teach them to be little spies and treasure hunters in the music. All the while, it's using their brain. All the while, they're learning to think critically and kind of go a little deeper. What about current events? Wow, the conversations we're having in our home right now with what's going on in our world. Giving room for our children to ask the why, ask even, Mommy, what do you think God is doing through this? And then posing questions back to them to help them think biblically and critically through this time that we're going through. What about scripture? Bible principles. We sit down every day as a family, and my husband will open up the Bible or maybe a book that we're studying and go through it. And he really gets us digging deep. Now, obviously, at the level that we're at, when they were younger, we maybe didn't go as deep, but sometimes I don't think we give our kids enough credit. They can go deeper than what we might think they can go. So always asking the how, why, when, where, what, keeping those questions before them, more so than just asking a question that's going to elicit just a yes or no response. We do this all the time. I'll share with you right now something that my husband's challenging our family with, and boy, is it making me think deep. It's a little uncomfortable. A few weeks ago, he had us all write down 20 ways that we're selfish in our home right now. And then we had to read our lists to each other Saturday evening in family devotions. You talk about grueling. Whew, that was really hard. It was great accountability. It made us think critically. Right now, he has us making lists, 3 ways that we are thankful for another person in our family. And this Saturday, we're going to report to each other and share that. It's such a stimulating thinking exercise for us that really, hopefully, is changing us from the inside out. 2, how about playtime and quiet time? I know if you remember, you who have older kids like I do, you remember there's times when they're playing quietly. I specifically remember my boys playing with Legos, Lincoln Logs, and their building would get to the top and just could not figure out how to get the top one connected because it would keep falling off. I thought about that recently and thought, what was my first response as mom? Many times my first response was just go do it for them. That wasn't maybe necessarily the best thing for me to do. If I want them to think how to solve this problem on their own, I would go and say, how do you think we can do this? What do you think you can do to position it just right? And give them the room, give them the time to stop, be still, think it through. We are so much in a rush these days, aren't we? I know I am number one guilty of my just almost finishing my children's sentences because I'm in this fast pace. My mind is clicking along really fast. And I think, I've got to give them room to think it through, say what they're wanting to say, ask the question. Don't finish sentences for them. Give them the room to stop, be still inside, think, communicate. And I model that for them and I teach that to them too. Car rides. Wow. Think back, you all who are moms, think back of what did we used to do on car rides? Well, back in my day, I didn't have DVDs in the car and all of that. We counted cows. We counted the blue cars going by. Anything, my parents did anything that got me looking out my window, looking around at my surroundings and thinking. We miss those kinds of events today because it's so much easier to just pop in a DVD to entertain them. And I'm not totally against that at all. But I want us to see what are some ways that I can stimulate their thinking, even we're in the car together. I have been very guilty of stopping a CD mid-song, which drives my kids crazy, and striking up a conversation about what they just heard to get them thinking, just so I knew they were thinking intentionally about whatever we were listening to. I said at the beginning that I interviewed some teachers, college professors, retired, to get some more information. And I want to share a couple of things with you that, it was such a challenge to me to better my homeschooling, to challenge my kids better in this area. You know what I found out from these teachers? Because of technology, our kids these days are exposed from birth, really, to technology, and how much that is interfering with them learning to be still and think, because they're at a fast pace all the time. They're looking at things on their devices that are going by so quickly. Do you realize what that does for teachers in a normal classroom setting? I've had teachers tell me I have to practically stand on my head to keep their attention. It's true because of how much technology many times we throw at our children. What about life skills? Life skills are not being taught at home now. How many of us have our kids doing chores? We'd all probably raise our hand. Let me ask, how many of us, if our child doesn't do the chore correctly, do we just go correct it because we'll just get it done faster? I'm guilty of that, totally guilty of that. Instead of using that as a teachable moment, come alongside them and say, let's look at this again. What did you do wrong? How can you correct that? How can you fix that? It takes time, but wouldn't you agree with me? It is time well spent because of the life skill that we are teaching them that they will carry into being profitable adults someday. Even different things like they come to me and say, my pencil's not sharp, it broke. My first instinct is to say to them, go sharpen it. But I could change that and say, how are you going to solve that problem? I've kind of put the ball back in their court, haven't I? And challenge them. Stop, think, come up with a solution, and then follow through. That takes a lot of thought on our parts as moms, but I think you are, as well as I, we're willing to take that time if we see the fruit of critical thinking coming out in each one of our children. I love this saying. I got this from a present day school teacher that teaches second grade. She has all kinds of different learning styles in her classroom, but she teaches them good old grit. What is grit? In one word, I would say it's resolve. She teaches them in this way. Growing requires inward tenacity. We are not going to quit. If something isn't fixed quickly, we're going to persevere. I am going to be resolved to hang in there. And as moms and dads, we need to have grit. We need to have this resolve that no matter how long it takes or what kind of a day we're having, we will choose to come alongside of our kids and teach them to have a resolve about them. A stick-to-itiveness is what my dad used to always say to me. A grit to problem solve, to think things out. Don't give up too early. Another very cool thing, and you're going to have to probably think about this one a little bit, but I have been so challenged in this area in watching what my high school students do. What does strengthening your child's core have to do with critical thinking? If you would have asked me that months ago, I would have probably said nothing. But you know what? It does. I have a good friend who is a physical therapist. She's the one that challenged me on this area. She said, your child's core has a great deal to do with their thinking skills. And she shared with me they have parents that bring their kids to them who have trouble with handwriting skills. And do you know what the first thing is that a physical therapist will do? Will start immediately doing core strengthening exercises with that children. Wow. You know what that got me thinking? When I was in the classroom, what did I expect of my students? I never allowed my students in the classroom to sit all slumped over, to lay down, maybe in a more casual setting, yes, if I was reading a book to them. But when it was time to do handwriting, we all know proper posture we teach our kids. If you do our distance learning, what the teacher encourages them. How have I failed in that area maybe with my high school kids? They know now I come around the corner and I kind of peek and see, are they sitting up? Are they giving the attitude of, I am an engaged learner and I'm intent. I'm not just sitting here watching family Friday night movie time. I am an engaged learner. If an engaged learner is a critical thinker, I love to keep reminding myself about that. I want my children engaged. I want to challenge them, sit up, be attentive. I do this in church, even with my high school students. I see them slouch a little bit, sit up. I want you sitting up. I want you looking attentive. There is something I really think that should be said about this area. And I've been very challenged by my friend to just keep an eye on my high school students right now, to encourage them. to sit tall, strengthen that core, because ultimately my brain is going to be strengthened. I want to end with one phrase that has challenged me as a mom, and that is, what I do in moderation, my children will do in excess. Now, that is either going to comfort me or rebuke me, and I would say both. Probably rebuke me more than anything. I have chosen, my husband and I have chosen for our family, this wonderful BJU Press curriculum. My kids are getting a biblical worldview through math, science, English, history, reading, no matter what it is, Spanish. But what is also being thrown at my kids at every corner when we are functioning just in the world? It's a worldly view. If I based all my subjects and my schooling on this worldly view, what is going to happen? You know as well as I do, the worldly view is always shifting. It's very shaky. So what is going to happen to what my kids are learning academically? It's going to keep shifting and shaking and crumbling. However, if I stress God's word as my foundation, in the everyday moments of life, along with my math, my English, my science, my history, those subjects are going to be strong. They're not going to shift and shake and wobble around because my foundation is strong. What happens if me as mom, if I am not wanting somebody to challenge my thinking, if I don't want things done hard, I want the easy way out. If I am modeling all of that for my children, what kind of children am I going to rear? I am going to rear children who don't want to be challenged either. I will rear children who want things handed to them. They want everything quick, a quick fix. Let's just microwave it and get it done. If I model that, my children are going to go into their adult years and maybe do what I have modeled for them in excess. That is not what I want. I want to model for them as mom. Mom's a critical thinker. Dad's a critical thinker. She is willing to fish and dig for information and not just expect it to be handed to them. I have chosen this wonderful curriculum for my kids, and I know they're being challenged. But in the everyday moments of life, what am I challenging them to do? And I want to close with this beautiful passage in Deuteronomy that supports this point, really. And it's what God said through Moses to the children of Israel. And I think you will be very familiar with it. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. You shall love him with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. And these words I command you today shall be on your heart. You shall teach them diligently to your children. You shall talk of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise. And I'd like to add, when you're in the car, if you're cleaning the bathroom together, all of those everyday moments. You shall bind them as a sign on your hand and as frontlets on your eyes. You shall write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. That to me is critical thinking. I'm surrounding my kids with all of these tools to put in their toolbox. And I'm coming alongside of them and helping them along the way know which tool to use, know how to use their tools. And while I'm challenging them, I'm challenging myself because I want to model it. I hope and pray this is a great Just a shot in the arm that we kind of need right now. At this time, many of us are closing out our school years. And here are some questions, sample questions you can use through any situation through the day. What do you think is happening? Why do you think that? How would you solve this problem? How would you do that? What do you need to do to solve the problem? You could actually say, okay, what tool do you need to choose from right now to solve it? All of those kind of things keep us from always asking a question that our kids only give a yes or no. We want to engage more in conversation. I know just from my research, I have been challenged so much in this, and I don't even have time to share with you all of the cool things I have found out about this. But I hope this gives you a little snippet of what you can take what I said and modify it to your family. And I do pray this will be, I love to think of it as it's just kind of a shot in my arm that I need. That's like that vitamin B shot that I need to finish this year well, as many of us are closing out and we're thinking about the next school year. I hope it encourages you. I know I have been greatly challenged. And I hope you all have a wonderful, blessed day. Thank you so much for joining me today.